Talk to our friends from the Robert F. Kennedy National Resource Center for Juvenile Justice and the Judiciary. Of course, His Honor, the Chief Justice, is here right now, as is Carrie Harp. She is a consultant with the organization. Thank you very much, Carrie. Hafaday.
Hafaday, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so let's talk about the assessment process and maybe some of the,
Yes.
the conclusions, if you will, of what you guys have been able to ascertain.
Okay. One of the key components of our review was looking at how decisions were made as far as treating youth and matching their needs to the services that will actually make a difference and improve outcomes in their lives. And one of the key core components to improving youth outcomes across the board when it comes to probation's effectively working to improve youth outcomes, the research all says that you really should use a validated risk, needs, and responsivity screening tool. And that screening and assessment tool actually provides information on the domains in a youth's life where there are some strengths and also some needs. So Guam has been looking at implementing a savory assessment, that's what it's called, where you will actually give that assessment to a youth when they come into the system and identify across 8 different domains where their needs might lie. So for example, there might be a challenge within the family domain, but the domain that's focused on school, that's a strength that they would want to build their case plan around. What this risk, needs, and responsivity approach does is tailor the youth's needs and strengths to, again, the services that they will provide. Instead of looking at a youth as being just a troubled youth and throwing some services at them and hoping that that will actually make a difference, this targets resources and will lead to more informed and improved outcomes for this particular youth in an individualized manner.
This is interesting to me because it seems like, although you're applying this within the public sector, this almost seems like a Fortune 500 approach, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's like a very scientific, very corporate approach. And Mr. Chief Justice, assessment is only half of the coin. Of course, now it's up to you and your staff to implement the suggestions and everything. So
well,
how do you blend that?
I mean, we're working, as we indicated right off the bat, we have meetings tomorrow to talk about how we're going to be implementing the recommendations. We need the stakeholders that are involved, the service providers that are involved. The Attorney General is working very closely with us, also taking advantage of the Savory Risk and Needs Assessment tool in an effort to evaluate those low offenders that don't need even to be referred to the juvenile justice system at the court. And we're hoping that we can at least reduce the number of referrals from the Attorney General's office to the judiciary. That's just one component. We also want to, stop the school to prison pipeline that is ongoing. And we're meeting this afternoon with a majority of the principals from around the island, as well as the superintendent of education, to talk about their new strategies for dealing with some of the troubled youth, the changes that they're going with Truman down in Santa Rita, and how they're going to be integrating some of the things that we're going to be doing as well. So we're quite excited. I think everyone knows that it's going to take our team effort from everyone, not only at the judiciary, but the Department of Education, the Department of Youth Affairs, the service providers, the mental health providers, and of course DOE. And so I think we're going to have significant changes in the way we approach juvenile justice on Guam, and I think in the long run we're going to see significant benefits redound to our community.
Mm-hmm. And again, Carrie, I think it's interesting the method that you've used, because whether you want to look at it again from like a private sector approach like SWOT analysis, or you want to do the whole accentuate the positive, try and downplay the negative and everything like that. You have a really good plan, and it seems like it's a really good formula. And how were you able to condense all this into, I'm assuming, such a short time frame of work? That's a lot of data to process.
It is a lot of data to process, but what I would like to highlight is that this isn't a plan necessarily that John Toole or Carrie Harp came up with. We are bringing into this process core principles and best practices that research has solidified over many, many different studies. And in working with the openness and the transparency with which the judiciary has welcomed us in, they were ready and willing and said, show us where we can improve and show us where we can bring those best practices into our current practice.
Mm-hmm. And like most effective management principles, this is just not a one-time shot, management fix, Band-Aid solution, whatever you want to call it. This is an ongoing phenomena.
Very much so, and we call it a probation system review for a purpose. This is not a program or a model where we come in and say this is the one thing you need to do that's going to be the magic bullet that will help youth and improve outcomes. It's going to be multiple changes incrementally sequenced over time that will lead to improved outcomes for youth that you wouldn't have otherwise.
All right, so in terms of time, how do you roadmap this in terms of like, us beginning to see the fruits of this research?
Well, I think we're immediately implementing, we've already conducted the training on the savory assessment for our staff from DYA, and looking at getting that going immediately. We're going to, you're going to start to see some of the changes right away in the way in which we approach juvenile justice on Guam.
Okay, well, thank you so much both.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you,
work, and thanks for your
Jason.
time once again.
Thank you.
The chair, quite literally, is always available for you, sir.
Appreciate it. There'll be a few more opportunities for us to discuss some of the things that we're doing. So I appreciate the open invitation.
Well, we do look forward to it. You're welcome back anytime, of
All
course.
right. Thank you, Jason.
All right. Everybody, please stay tuned. We are back after this.